Good morning and welcome to another edition of Inside Cape Cod. I'm Mina Greene. This morning, I have the pleasure of interviewing Jennifer Madden, and she is with the Heritage Museum and Gardens, 25 years plus. Is that correct, Jennifer?
Yes, up to 31 years now.
Oh, my goodness. Honestly, what a gorgeous place to work.
Absolutely. That's why one of the reasons I've stayed here so long.
That's great. Now, you just finished up with the Hydrangea Festival. It was beautiful. I had a chance a few years ago to come by and see it, and it's just gorgeous. Though today, I do want to talk to you about the prestigious award that Heritage has won. It's a Distinguished Award of Excellence for your exceptional special project called Creating Cape Cod, the most prestigious recognition of achievement in the presentation of the interpretation of the state and local history. So tell us about the project Creating Cape Cod.
Sure. So the project began as an idea for an exhibit to think about how Cape Cod turned from something that Henry David Thoreau described as a Yankee backwater, 1840s, to a place that over 5 million people visit every year. So basically the history of how Cape Cod became a tourist destination. I've had that idea first in 2005. And then I just made a file folder, and anytime I came across information that was relevant for that topic, I put it in there, and then the time was finally right to do that exhibition in 2022. Included in that project were a number of oral history videos as well on the tourist industry. And then the exhibit was so well received by our visitors that we carried it over for our 2023 season as well. We added more oral history videos, and we published an exhibit catalog. So all three of those elements, the oral history videos, the exhibit, and the exhibit catalog, is considered a special project that we applied for the award for.
Well, it's a great project. It sounds absolutely incredible. And of course, you've managed to preserve a lot of this history, Cape Cod history. And I'm a big fan of Thoreau, but yeah, I didn't like the way he talked about it, about this particular moment. But I did love reading about it. And plus, think about it. There was actually pretty much nothing here when he was walking.
In the 1840s. Right, yeah, that was right.
When he was walking the beaches, he was quite amazing with identifying plants and flowers, keeping a history of that for us, because some of our native plants have disappeared. And he was good at keeping records, and I loved his journeys. I don't know how he walked as far as he did, because remember, people, there were no cars, there were no buses, there were no trains.
Right.
You know? Right. He had to walk everywhere.
Yes.
From Walden all the way down here, so quite a man. But he had an eye for places because he did come here, and it's just every time I go to Heritage, we go a lot. We go every chance we get. There's always something. I find something new every time, and. I've been to the Hydrangea Festival, and it's absolutely gorgeous. Of course, we missed it this time around. Anyway, so tell me more. I mean, because this is a wonderful project, and it's been so well received.
It has. Yes, it has. So we're lucky that elements of it, although we couldn't keep the exhibit up forever, although many people suggested to us that it should become a permanent part of our exhibition program. Which I would love to do, but we have only so many square feet to devote to exhibitions.
Yes.
But we're really fortunate that the videos, of course, can be preserved online, and you can find them on our Heritage YouTube channel. And the exhibit catalog, of course, is now out in the world, and that is something that can be purchased at our museum shop. So we're really feeling fortunate that we can keep the project going. We do have plans in the future to make an online exhibit as well, because we turned up so much great content. It's a little sad as a museum curator when it comes to closing day, and you've spent years and years researching this exhibit, and then you need to take it down. So, the internet helps us with that. We can make an online exhibit, and we absolutely have plans to do that.
Well, that's incredible. That's one of the good things about this modern age that we can actually do.
Yes, exactly.
And I know that Heritage Museum and Garden is committed to continuing your mission of preserving and interpreting history through your innovative programs. Let's face it, with the oral history, and it's very engaging. You've got a lot of engaging programs and exhibits. And so you definitely deserved this prestigious award.
For those?
Oh, you're welcome. So those who might be visiting the Cape, would you like to tell us a little bit about Heritage Museum and Gardens?
Sure. Heritage is located on 100 acres of landscaped grounds in Sandwich. So you've referred to our hydrangea collection, which this year, by the way, I think the hydrangeas are the most beautiful they have ever been here at Heritage and at the Cape in general. We have 3 different museum exhibition buildings. So we have an antique automobile museum. We have a collection of 43 antique American automobiles, ranging in age from 1899 to 1965. You could see those at our auto museum. We have a changing exhibitions gallery, which is where the Creating Cape Cod exhibit was. This year, we're featuring an exhibit called Impressionist New England, 4 Seasons of Color and Light, which has also been very well received. All New England painters representing New England arranged in the 4 seasons, done by our curator, Amanda Wastrom. Absolutely fabulous.
Must be wonderful. It's been a while since we've been there. I have to come by and see it. Of course, you've got the vintage carousel.
Oh, yes, exactly. That's our 3rd exhibit building. We have a 1908 Loof carousel, which is available for rides as well.
I got a ride on it last time.
Oh, good.
I'm just a big kid. But I love also the interactive outdoor discovery area that you have for kids of all ages. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh, sure. Hidden Hollow is our outdoor discovery garden. It is full of activities for kids ages 2 to 10. There is an art making down there, imaginary play, construction, water play. People come and spend pretty much all day there. It is a fabulous place for kids.
Well, it's huge, too. I mean, the museum, the acreage alone is...
Oh, we have about 100 acres. And gardens, we've mentioned the hydrangea gardens, but we have all different types of blooming perennials and gardens all over the place, and nature walks as well. So you could sort of, stay on our main path and enjoy those planted gardens as you walk through. The daylilies are particularly beautiful right now, but you can also get off the main path onto the hiking paths and get into more of a sort of natural woodland and enjoy those walks as well. And one of those borders Upper Sham Pond, so that is a particularly lovely walk.
Now, what did you call that pond?
Sham, Upper Sham Pond.
It is Sham, because I've heard people say Shami.
Yes, I believe Sham is correct, yeah.
Because that's one thing, I've never seen that. I've never seen that part. And that's also,
okay.
Yeah, that's also, there's a place near you called, I think it's Cook's Farm. Can you walk from the main street?
Oh, yes. Yes, you can. Of course, parking there is tricky right now with the construction. Oh, sorry, there is a little bit of parking right at that location across the street from the Wing School. You can pull in there. I've done that walk. You walk through there over the dam between Upper and Lower Sham Pond. Then you can come out on Grove Street and walk right up to Heritage.
Right, because I've often seen it. I wanted to walk it, and I'm so glad I was able to ask you about that. Just walk over the little dam there. Lived on Cape for almost 28 years now, and I've driven by that so many times, and I've never been able to go. And to be able to walk right up to the museum, that's wonderful. It must be beautiful. Yeah. And I love the swans that are in that pond all the time.
Yes, right.
Yeah. Just don't go too close, because they can be a little hissy, and they can be a little,
Yeah.
But
keep your distance.
Yes, keep your distance, especially when there are little ones around. But they really are, they're one of my favorite. They're so magnificent. So now I'm all excited. Now I have something good to do this weekend. So I'm going to try to do that and walk up to the gardens. It's just so relaxing there and so peaceful. And I love the flume.
The flume fountain, yes.
Oh, it's just beautiful. The best part, again, too, is like you said, the hydrangeas, they're in bloom now, but they're going to be going away shortly. But that means when one goes away, you have another garden that is in bloom, which is what you were saying.
Exactly. There are gardens in bloom all year round. Yep.
And again, the antique automobiles are wonderful. Last time I was there, you had the Danica Patrick exhibit.
Oh, yes, the Indy 500 exhibit. Yes, a lot of fun to put together.
So you get to do all this. You get to put all of these wonderful things all together. What are some of the other gardens? Now, the lilies are coming up now.
Let's see, what is going to come up after that? Well, of course, I love our fall foliage here.
Yes.
And they really won't deadhead the hydrangeas. So something that I really like is sort of watching them turn into their antique phase.
Yes.
Right now, they're really bright and colorful, but as they go into the fall, they stay colorful. But it's just that their color changes and shifts over time as it gets cooler.
Yes.
Absolutely beautiful. Right. So you don't just think of them as a July plant. They are really beautiful all through the fall.
And you have so many different kinds.
Exactly. There are hundreds of different varieties. You would have to talk to our horticulture department to learn more about that. I just appreciate them as I walk through.
Of course. Now, I've just two different varieties, and I still don't know what they are. I have what I call the regular variety, and then I have the one that looks like it has little flowers blooming on it. It's kind of flathead. They're not the puffy hydrangea.
The lace cap ones, I think.
Yes, lace cap. That's it. Oh,
Right.
I knew you would know. And obviously, you love the place, and you know so much about it. And as you said, you've been there 31 years now. I was given information 25 plus.
Well, that's accurate, too.
That is accurate. So let me see, what else? What about the smoke signals? Special smoke signals, a Mashpee-based native exhibition?
So, yes. So they are, Smoke Signals is a Mashpee-based native-owned exhibit development team. So we have worked with representatives from Smoke Signals for the last several years. They built us a reproduction Wampanoag Wetu here on our property. We've worked with them to tell the story about what we know about native use of the property that is now heritage. Mm-hmm. So when we got to this project, and I really wanted to tell, I'm going to back up farther, I started wondering, did any Cape Cod tourist destinations advertise in the Greene Book? And I don't know if all your listeners will know what the Greene Book was, but it was a publication from the 20s to the 60s for Black Americans, and as they were traveling, they might not know where they could stop where it would be safe for them to get a meal or stay overnight. And so I thought, was anybody from Cape Cod advertising in the Greene Book? And it turns out that, yes, there were. And there were other publications designed for minority travelers as well. So I wanted to... So I made a spreadsheet, basically, of all the publications I could find and all of the Cape Cod places that were advertising that were both black and white owned. And I wanted to talk to the people who were either traveling or the people who owned businesses that were catering to those travelers, and Smoke Signals helped us with that, find those people, help develop the questions for the interviews for them. They arranged for the filming, did the editing, that kind of thing. And of course, they also helped us with getting Native voices represented in this exhibit as well. What has it meant to the Wampanoag to have their ancestral lands turned into a tourist destination?
Right.
How did early tourists interact with the Wampanoag, which was often Wampanoag were acting as hunting and fishing guides for the very earliest tourists here on the Cape in the 1800s? So Smoke Signals was really instrumental in helping us with that content so we could present it in the exhibit, the videos, and also the catalog.
Now, you see, that's absolutely fascinating. I did not know about the Greene Book. So that was something that was from, can you give me the dates one more time? I'm really curious.
Sure. It was started to be published in the 1920s.
Okay, in the 20s.
I don't remember exact dates
That's
right
okay.
now. But up until the 1960s, when there was anti-discrimination federal laws, and then theoretically it wasn't necessary anymore. So there were a number of different publications that sort of did the same thing. So
it would let
one was called.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Minorities. There were certain places they could not go.
Correct.
And that's
exactly.
what really caught my ear. I mean, I just feel like that's kind of crazy. But in this day, well, because it's this day and age, but I would never have really thought of that about Cape Cod. So that's why I was interested.
People think of this as being a southern problem, right? But almost, I mean, it certainly was a southern problem, but if you were in the South, you just had these things posted, right? Black people are not welcome here.
Awful.
If you got to New England, that's not happening here. The discrimination here was much more subtle. So it was almost more important to have a book like this available to you if you were traveling outside of where you normally lived and went into a place where these things were more just sort of understood rather than just outwardly declared.
Yes.
From the Greene Book and Go Guide to Pleasant Motoring and Travel Guide were all publications that were serving that same audience.
Wow. And that was stopped around 1960, or it wasn't necessary anymore in 1960?
Whenever the federal legislation of anti-discrimination, which is in the mid-1960s sometime.
Right. Very, very interesting, because I just wouldn't have thought that about the Cape. But makes sense now when I have someone as educated as you to explain it to me. So.
I have to say that discrimination of all types was very clearly indicated and discovered in this exhibit. I have a whole chapter on it in the catalog. But for example, there were tourist brochures that said on them very clearly, Jewish patronage not desired.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Another one says the atmosphere of the hotels is especially delightful to Christian people.
Huh.
So there were also social restrictions made very clear as well. Like this housing development is only for rich white people who are Protestant.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Right. And it's important to remember that at a lot of the times that these things were published, that kind of discrimination was not illegal.
Right.
It's surprising to us because we have lived so long. Our entire lifetimes have been that type of discrimination is illegal. But at this time, it was not necessarily the case. Right. Exactly.
Right. It was commonplace back then.
Yes,
it was commonplace. It was just like they were trying to guide different people to different things. But you think about it, and in the history, well, yes, there was a lot of segregation for many different religions and peoples. But so the Greene book, that fascinates me. See, I learned something new today. I learned quite a few things new today. And very interesting. I'm certainly glad that it's not that way anymore. I'm sure you are as well. We all are.
Right.
As you said, in our lifetimes, we didn't have to deal with that. But I feel badly for the people that did. Again, it kind of let them know where not to go because then they would be turned away and it would be even more embarrassing, maybe. You know what I mean? So I guess it served its purpose at the time, I think.
Right.
And we just have to keep in mind of that time and that history. Again, I'm not condoning it now, obviously, but
Right.
So, and that's what you guys are great at. You're really good at preserving the history of Cape Cod and all that it includes.
Right. It's so important to preserve this information for the past and let people know about it today. Like you, many of our visitors were surprised that discrimination like this was ever a problem on Cape Cod, present on Cape Cod.
Yeah.
Even I was surprised when I was doing the exhibition to find that, in particular, the anti-Jewish discrimination was so blatant. So, I think we can get caught up in the problems that we have today in our society, and I think it's really important that we understand the context. Where do we come from?
Yes.
How did these things happen in the first place? What were things like 100 years ago? What are they like today? And get people thinking about, well, then how are we going to change that for the future? We understand the origin, where have we come from, where are we going?
Exactly.
And get people to really have conversations and do some thinking about that. Yep.
It's amazing. So you are so much more than just a museum and gardens. You are history. You are live history. You are a font of information. And I can't wait to come. I'm going to have to come by and see you guys very soon. So
great. We'd love to have you.
Oh, yes. And I will be there with my little cell phone camera because I'm not very good at the old cameras anymore. But Jennifer, you are just an absolute joy to speak with, and you're so knowledgeable. And thank you so very much for coming on the show with me this morning and sharing your insight and your history with our listeners, because it's very, very interesting. And I want a lot of people, anybody listening, you've got to go to Heritage Museum and Gardens, and they are in Sandwich, and you will just find so many things to see and to do and to learn about. It's a great family day.
Absolutely. Well, a real strength of Heritage, I firmly believe, is our diversity. We have the carousel, we've got the cars, we've got the gardens. Everybody can find something that they like to do here. Absolutely.
And I love the flume, too. That's an interesting flume.
Right.
Yes. Well, thank you, Jennifer. I know how busy you are, but I will be stopping by soon, and I will hopefully be there when you are there, and we can chat in person. But in the meantime, thank you so much for this interview. You've been lovely, and I really appreciate it. And I'm sure our listeners appreciate it as well. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
And that's going to do it for this week's edition of Inside Cape Cod, heard on all 4 of our Coxswain Media Stations. Until next time, I'm Mina Greene.